Hey everyone, feeling that Friday energy. It's almost the weekend, and we are ready to dive into some fascinating stuff about how to spend those 2 days off. Getting the most out of your weekend is kind of an art form, isn't it?
It really is, and you might not expect this, but we found a sample podcast script for English language learners that had some really insightful points about weekends.
Yeah, it's one of those things we don't always think about too deeply, right? We all know what a weekend is, but this script got me thinking about weekends from all these different angles, like cultural differences and personal growth, and even just the vocabulary we use.
Yeah, it is interesting how the concept of a weekend can vary so much around the world.
I mean, we're so used to Saturday and Sunday being our time off, but did you know that in some Middle Eastern countries, the weekend falls on Friday and Saturday?
Right, and that difference actually stems from historical and religious traditions. In many Middle Eastern cultures, Friday is a holy day, so it makes sense to incorporate it into the weekend, both from a religious and practical standpoint.
That's so interesting, and it makes you think about how these cultural differences impact things beyond just when we take a break from work.
Right.
Like how does it affect work-life balance and social gatherings and even just connecting with people in different time zones?
It definitely adds a layer of complexity to our increasingly interconnected world. Trying to schedule a meeting when people's weekends don't align can be a challenge.
For sure.
Yeah.
It highlights the need to be aware of these differences and be sensitive to other cultures.
Absolutely.
But beyond the logistics, I think it's fascinating to consider how different weekend structures can reveal a culture's values and priorities.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay, so we've established that weekends aren't a universal concept. But what about the activities we fill them with? The script goes into some common weekend vocabulary like leisure, unwind, getaway. But I'm curious about the less obvious ways people use their weekends for personal growth.
Well, personal growth doesn't always have to involve big accomplishments or checking things off a to-do list. It can be something as simple as trying a new recipe, or finally visiting that museum you've always wanted to see, or even just disconnecting from technology for an afternoon and reflecting on your week.
I like that. It's about being intentional with your time and choosing activities that nourish your mind, body, or spirit.
Exactly. It's about investing in yourself, even in small ways.
The script also mentions the idea of a getaway. And I think there's a lot to unpack there. It's more than just a change of scenery, right?
Definitely. There's a whole field of research on the psychological benefits of travel and getting away from your daily routine. Even short trips can reduce stress, boost creativity, and broaden your perspective.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Exactly.
And it doesn't always have to be some grand adventure to a far-off destination.
Sometimes a weekend camping trip or a staycation exploring your own city can be just as rejuvenating.
Right, it's about shifting your perspective even for a little while. And speaking of shifting perspectives, the script tells this story about a woman named Sarah who takes a weekend trip to the beach. But what I found interesting wasn't just the destination, it was how she approached her time there.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, she seemed to strike this perfect balance between relaxation and exploration.
I see.
She enjoyed classic beach activities like reading and soaking up the sun. But she also pushed herself outside of her comfort zone by taking a cooking class and meeting new people.
It sounds like she found that sweet spot between recharging and expanding her horizons at the same time.
Exactly. And honestly, it's something I think we could all learn from. It's easy to fall into the trap of either overscheduling our weekends or just vegging out in front of the TV.
I know what you mean. Finding that balance is key, and it's different for everyone. For some people, a fulfilling weekend might involve tackling a creative project, while for others, it might be about spending quality time with loved ones, or just enjoying some peace and quiet.
Right. The script really emphasizes choosing activities that align with your personal values and goals. But for those of us who maybe haven't quite mastered the art of the perfectly balanced weekend, where do we even begin?
Well, it starts with a bit of self-reflection. Ask yourself what truly brings you joy. What activities leave you feeling energized and fulfilled?
Good questions.
Maybe it's something you used to love doing but haven't made time for lately, or maybe it's something you've always wanted to try.
I see. So it's not just about filling our weekends with activities, it's about being intentional with our time and choosing things that resonate with us on a deeper level.
Precisely. It's about shifting from a mindset of I have to I choose to. And that subtle shift can make all the difference in how you experience your time off.
It's like taking that sense of agency we often feel at work and applying it to our leisure time.
I like that.
We become the architects of our own weekends, designing them to maximize both enjoyment and personal growth.
And that's where the real magic happens. When we approach our weekends with intentionality, We create space for those aha moments, those unexpected experiences that enrich our lives in ways we never anticipated.
I love that idea. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of weekends, what are some key takeaways you hope our listeners will walk away with?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that weekends are more than just a break from work. They're a valuable opportunity to invest in ourselves, explore our passions, and reconnect with what truly matters.
It's like that saying, life is what happens between weekends. But maybe it should be the other way around. Maybe weekends are the key to unlocking a more fulfilling life.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it, and it doesn't require grand gestures or elaborate plans. Sometimes the most fulfilling weekends are the simplest ones.
Right. It's about finding those activities that recharge your soul, whether it's spending time in nature, reading a good book, or having a meaningful conversation with a friend.
This brings up an interesting question. How do we balance the desire for relaxation with the urge to be productive? Because let's face it, there's always something we could be doing, some task we could check off our to-do list.
It's that constant pressure of our always-on culture, right? But maybe the real key to a fulfilling weekend is learning to let go of that pressure and allow ourselves to simply be.
I couldn't agree more. It's about giving ourselves permission to unplug, unwind, and recharge without feeling guilty or like we're wasting time.
Because ultimately, time spent recharging is an investment in ourselves. It allows us to show up as our best selves during the week, both at work and in our personal lives.
So as you head into this weekend, I encourage you to reflect on what a truly fulfilling and rejuvenating 2 days would look like for you. What activities would you choose? Who would you spend time with? And most importantly, how can you cultivate a sense of intention and presence in those precious hours?
This deep dive has definitely inspired me to rethink my own approach to weekends. Maybe it's time to dust off that old guitar plan, a day trip to a nearby park, or simply block off some time for pure, unadulterated relaxation.
Whatever you choose, make it a good one.
And remember, weekends are a gift, the opportunity to reconnect with ourselves and the things that bring us joy. So go out there and make the most of them.
And you know, it doesn't always have to be a big trip either. Sometimes just a change of scenery can do wonders.
Totally, even a day trip to a nearby town or just exploring a different part of your own city can be enough to shift your perspective. But I think what really stood out to me about Sarah's story was how she approached her time at the beach. It wasn't just about relaxing and escaping. It was about finding that balance between unwinding and trying new things.
You're right. It's like she found that sweet spot between recharging and expanding her horizons.
Exactly.
She made time for both the traditional relaxing beach activities and also for things that push her a little outside her comfort zone.
Like the cooking class, yeah.
Right.
It's inspiring because it shows that you don't have to choose between relaxation and personal growth on the weekends.
Absolutely. It's about finding what works for you. Some people might feel recharged by tackling a big project, while others might find that spending time in nature or with loved ones is more fulfilling.
It's about being intentional with your time and choosing activities that align with your values. But you know, sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Like for those of us who struggle to find that balance, where do we even start?
Well, I think a good place to begin is by asking yourself some questions, like what truly brings you joy? What activities leave you feeling energized and fulfilled? Maybe it's something you used to love doing but haven't made time for recently. Or maybe it's something you've always wanted to try but never got around to.
I think that's such a good point. It's about reconnecting with those things that make you feel alive.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's just about giving yourself permission to rest and recharge without feeling guilty.
Right. It's about shifting from a mindset of I have to I choose to.
I like that. Because when you think about it, weekends are a gift. They're an opportunity to step away from the demands of daily life and reconnect with ourselves and the things that matter most.
And when we approach our weekends with that intentionality, we create space for those unexpected moments of joy and inspiration.
Absolutely. It's about making the most of those precious 48 hours.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with a question. What does a truly fulfilling weekend look like for you?
That's a great question. It really gets to the heart of what we've been talking about.
It's so easy to get caught up in the shoulds, you know? Like, I should be working on this project or I should be catching up on chores.
Right? There's always something on the to-do list.
But maybe the real key is learning to let go of that pressure and just allow ourselves to be present.
I think so.
Uh-huh.
It's about giving ourselves permission to unwind and recharge without guilt.
Because ultimately, taking time to recharge is an investment in ourselves, isn't it?
Absolutely. When we're rested and rejuvenated, we're able to show up more fully in all areas of our lives, well, at work and in our personal relationships.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge. This weekend, I encourage you to really think about what a truly fulfilling and rejuvenating 2 days would look like for you.
What activities bring you joy? What makes you feel alive and energized?
And maybe it's spending time with loved ones or exploring a new hobby. Or maybe it's simply giving yourself permission to do nothing at all.
Whatever it is, make it intentional. Make it a conscious choice to spend your time in a way that nourishes your mind, body, and soul.
I love that idea. It's about reclaiming our weekends and making them work for us.
Exactly.
Well, this conversation has definitely inspired me to rethink my own approach to weekends.
Me too.
I think it's time to dust off that old guitar and maybe plan a hike in the woods.
Sounds like a perfect weekend to me.
And to all our listeners out there, I hope you have a chance to reconnect with yourselves and the things that bring you joy this weekend. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of weekends. Until next time.